Most people think ancient humans were killed by massive predators, a cave lion, a saber-tooth cat, something enormous and terrifying. But that is not how most of them died. The real killers were smaller, quieter, and far more disturbing, and some of them are still killing us today, just in a different form. The most dangerous animal for ancient humans was not the biggest one. It was not the cave bear, which weighed over 1,000 pounds. It was not the giant hyena, which had a bite force strong enough to crush bone like paper. The most dangerous animal was one you already know, the leopard. Not because leopards were the biggest, not because they were the fastest, but because of where they hunted, at night, in trees, in silence. Think about what ancient humans had for protection at night. Nothing, no walls, no roof, no door. They slept on the ground, or in shallow caves, or in low brush, completely exposed, and leopards are patient. They can stalk prey for hours without making a single sound. They move through tall grass like water moving through cracks in rock. They can see in near total darkness, and when they strike, it is over in seconds. Archaeologists working in South Africa found fossilized skulls with puncture marks. 2 holes, perfectly spaced, matching exactly the distance between the upper and lower canine teeth of a leopard. One of those skulls was a child, small, under 10 years old, dragged up into a tree, where leopards carry their prey so hyenas cannot steal it. This was not rare. This happened constantly. For hundreds of thousands of years, every night, every member of every group was vulnerable. The elderly who could not climb trees, children who could not run, anyone who wandered more than 20 meters from the group after dark. Researchers believe leopard attacks were so common that they shaped the way we sleep. The reason humans naturally wake up several times throughout the night may be a survival response left over from a time when something was hunting you while you slept. Your midnight wake-up is not insomnia. It is an ancient alarm system that kept your ancestors alive. But predators were not the biggest killers of ancient humans, not even close. Here is what actually killed most of them. Infection, a scratch, a cut, a broken bone that pierced the skin, a tooth that rotted through to the root, a bite from another person during a fight. Any of these could kill. Today, you get a cut, you clean it, you bandage it, and in a week it is healed, maybe slightly infected. You take antibiotics, you are fine. For ancient humans, a small cut could be a death sentence. There were no antibiotics, no antiseptics, no surgical tools, no understanding of bacteria or how invisible things spread disease. The concept of something too small to see causing illness did not exist. What existed was a wound, and then days later the skin around it turning red, then hot, then swollen, then dark lines spreading up the arm or leg following the blood vessels, and then fever and confusion and death. We have found ancient skeletons with healed injuries, broken arms that mended properly, fractured ribs that fused back together. These tell us ancient humans could survive serious physical trauma, sometimes for years after major injuries. But we have also found evidence of what happened when infections set in. Bone infections that ate through the bone from the inside, channels carved by bacteria over weeks and months, the destruction visible in the fossil record, and then nothing. The skeleton ends, the person died. Here is what makes this hardest to think about. They knew something was wrong. They could feel it. They could see the redness spreading across the skin. They could feel the fever climbing. But they had no idea what was causing it, no way to fight it. They could only wait and hope it went away on its own. Sometimes it did. Sometimes the immune system won, but often it did not. And the person who had survived a leopard attack, survived a brutal winter, survived years of danger and hardship, died because of something too small to see. Now starvation. This one is hard to imagine because food surrounds us today in ways ancient humans could never have dreamed of. For ancient humans, hunger was constant, and starvation was always one bad season away. Think about what it took to eat every single day. No stores, no farms, no preserved food, no way to keep meat for more than a few days before it rotted, nothing but the wild world around you. If the animals migrated earlier than expected, if the rains were late, if a drought killed the plants, if an illness swept through the herds of animals your group depended on, if your best hunters were injured, if winter came 2 weeks sooner than usual, you starved. And starvation is not quick. Your body begins inhuming itself. First the fat reserves, then the muscles. Your brain starts making increasingly desperate decisions, prioritizing immediate survival over everything else. You take risks you would never normally take. You chase animals you cannot catch. You eat things that make you sick. We have found skeletons with clear signs of nutritional stress recorded in the bone. Lines called Harris lines form across the teeth during periods when the body stops growing due to starvation, and then restarts when food returns. Multiple lines in the same individual tell the story of someone who went through starvation again and again throughout their life. One child-sold skeleton from 40,000 years ago shows 7 separate growth interruption lines. 7 separate times in that child's short life when food ran out and the body had to slow down just to survive. And here is something most people do not realize. The worst starvation always hit children under 5 first. Their bodies had no reserves. Their metabolisms were already running at maximum speed just to support growth. When food disappeared, they were the first to go. Some estimates suggest that more than half of all children born in the Paleolithic never reached their 6th birthday. More than half. Think about what it meant to be a parent in that world. You love your baby. You protect it with everything you have. And you live with the knowledge that statistically, there is a better than even chance it will not survive to childhood. Not because of anything you did wrong, but because the world is that hard. Now we come to the one that took historians decades to accept. Did ancient humans kill each other? Yes, regularly. The peaceful ancient human living in harmony with nature is a myth. A comfortable myth, but a myth. We have found mass graves from the Paleolithic with dozens of individuals showing the same types of injuries. Skull fractures from blunt weapons, stab wounds to the back, projectile points embedded in bone, bodies dumped together and left unburied. The evidence of massacres is unmistakable. One site in Kenya called Naturuk contains the remains of at least 27 people who died violent deaths around 10,000 years ago. Men, women, and children. One woman was pregnant when she died. Multiple individuals showed signs of having been bound before being killed. This was not a battle between warriors. This was the murder of an entire family group. Violence between groups of ancient humans was not constant, not daily, but it was common enough that it shaped human psychology in ways we still carry today. Groups fight over resources, water sources, hunting grounds, shelter. All of these were limited. All of these determined survival. And when 2 groups met in territory both wanted, violence was a tool. It worked. Groups willing to use it could take what they needed. Groups unwilling to fight often lost what they needed to survive. This is why humans have such a complex relationship with violence. We are capable of deep cooperation and real sacrifice for those inside our group, and at the same time, we can be brutally efficient toward outsiders. Both of these things are true. Both have always been true. Now for the one that almost never gets discussed. For most of human history, childbirth was the single most dangerous event in a woman's life. The human skull is unusually large relative to the body. This is what makes us intelligent, but it also makes birth dangerous because the baby's head must pass through the birth canal during delivery. In other primates, birth is relatively fast. Chimpanzees give birth in under an hour with no assistance. The baby essentially slides out. For humans, birth is long and difficult. The baby's head must rotate to navigate the shape of the human birth canal. This process takes time. It requires correct positioning. When it goes wrong, it kills both mother and baby. We have found skeletons of ancient women with the small bones of a fetus still positioned inside the pelvis. The mother died in labor. The baby did not survive. There was nothing to be done. No surgical options. No pain relief beyond whatever plants might have dulled some of the agony. No antibiotics for the infections that frequently followed difficult deliveries. No way to help when the birth went wrong. Women who gave birth multiple times faced this risk repeatedly. Each pregnancy was a survival event, and the women who survived it again and again were extraordinary in ways we will never fully appreciate. Some deaths came not from living things at all. They came from the earth itself. Ancient humans lived through climatic events on a scale we can barely comprehend. Not as distant history, as their daily reality, volcanic winters, when a massive eruption throws enough ash into the atmosphere to block the sun for months or years. Temperatures drop across the entire planet. Plants die. Animals starve. Rivers run with acidic water that cannot be safely consumed. The Toba eruption, a supervolcanic event that occurred around 74,000 years ago in what is now Indonesia, may have nearly destroyed the entire human species. Some researchers believe the global human population dropped to as few as 10,000 individuals. Perhaps less. Every person alive on Earth today may be descended from a tiny survivor population that came through that event. Everyone else died. Ice ages. Not gradual cooling, but the relentless advance of ice sheets burying entire landscapes. Animals that had been plentiful vanishing as their habitats disappeared under ice. Groups who had lived in the same region for generations, finding the world they knew replaced by cold and nothing. They had to move, constantly, into unknown territory, into contact with other desperate groups, into climates their bodies were not designed for. Floods, earthquakes, lightning strikes that started fires consuming everything in hours. The ancient world was not stable. It was not safe. The earth itself was an enemy, as often as everything living on it. But ask researchers who study ancient human death what the single worst way to die in prehistoric times was. Ask them directly. They almost always give the same answer. Social expulsion, being cast out from your group. For an ancient human, the group was survival. Everything that kept a person alive came from the group. Warmth, food, protection from predators, help when injured, care during illness. All of it required other people. Alone, a single ancient human was almost helpless. A person cannot simultaneously maintain a fire and gather food and keep watch for predators. A person cannot hunt large animals without others. A person cannot survive serious injury without someone to provide water and food while recovery happens. Alone, the outcome was death. Just slow. And ancient human groups did expel people. The evidence exists in skeletal remains. Individuals buried apart from the group in unusual positions, with different or missing grave goods, suggesting they died separated from their community. To be expelled from your group in the ancient world was a sentence with only one outcome. It might take days, or weeks, or months, but it was coming. This is why exclusion still hurts the way it does. Why being rejected feels physically painful. Why loneliness makes people physically ill, not just emotionally but biologically, through compromised immune function and shortened lifespan. It is not weakness. It is biology. For 100,000 years, your ancestors needed other people to survive. The ones who did not care about being excluded were expelled and died. The ones who desperately needed belongings survived and had children, and they passed that desperate need for belonging forward through every generation until it reached you. your fear of being left out, your need to belong, your pain when someone rejects you. These are ancient survival mechanisms built into the human body by death itself. So what does all of this tell us about ancient humans? They were surviving in a world that was actively trying to kill them, from every direction, every day, without medicine, without tools beyond sharpened stone, without shelter beyond what they could find or build by hand. And they survived, not safely, not comfortably, but stubbornly, relentlessly, generation after generation. Every time infection killed someone, the immune systems of survivors got a little stronger. Every time a predator attacked, the survivors learned something new. Every time a hard winter killed the weakest, the group that remained got better at preparing. Death was not just tragedy. Death was the engine that shaped everything we became. The immune system fighting off your illness. The brain that helped you solve a hard problem. The instinct that makes you loyal to your friends. The anxiety that makes you prepare for tomorrow. All of it was forged in the deaths of people who came before you. You are the product of an unbroken chain of survivors stretching back 2 million years. Every single ancestor you had survived long enough to produce a child. Every one of them. In a world where most people did not make it to 30. You are the end result of the luckiest, most stubborn bloodline in the history of life on this planet. Think about that the next time you feel like giving up. Subscribe to Before Us for a new ancient human story every single day. Next time, we are exploring something that will change how you understand your own brain. What ancient humans were genuinely afraid of, and how that fear still controls you right now without you knowing it. I will see you there.